Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of BC 3030. I am instructor Muriel Howard as usual, and today we will be covering the CPC mock exam review. And this presentation is going to teach you guys how to be successful. Here is a brief list of tips and ideas and tools. And what I want to also let you guys know is that this presentation will work for both weeks 4 and weeks 5. So you're going to take the CPC certification mock exam in both weeks. They are different. Each of them are comprised of 75 questions. You will be given 2.5 hours to take this particular exam. It is worth 9% of your grade. It does not count totally against you if you do not do well, but I will explain to you how to do well. And if you don't do well, it does not cause you to fail the course. It's just for practice and it's just to show you if you are prepared for the real exam. So, here are some tips and ideas and tools once again. I always advise to copy your test beforehand early in the week, as early as Sunday night, Monday, as early as possible. There's no need for me to reset the test. What you would need to do is once you have practiced your mock exam at home in your own comfort of your own home, away from the computer, time yourself, become more familiar with some of the types of questions that you're going to be going over. Um, Search for your answers, do your research online or your medical dictionary, whatever it is that you need to do to prepare. Use this as an opportunity to prepare. Remember, when you copy your test, your original score is going to be a 0. However, do not worry about that because you have the opportunity to come back in at any given time and retake the test. So, what's going to happen is you can input your answers and your test, the way you have printed out and completed it, will be in a different order than the one that you're going to be taking online because the questions are designed to scramble themselves every time you go out and come back in. So that's just a heads up for that. Remember, you process this the same way as you do your regular TNS test. So you'll just click try a new attempt when you're ready. I have sent out resources that will give you some help on preparing for this. There's a couple of practice exams that you should find in the week 4 student materials folder. If you have not found it or if I have not posted it yet, don't worry, I will definitely post it um, as early as possible. If you're watching this on a Monday and you don't see it, then it'll more than likely show up no later than Tuesday afternoon. A lot of times what I do with those particular practice exams is I review them for accuracy just to make sure that the information is still relevant. You know that a couple of times a year our books are updated, and I just want to make sure that you guys have the most recent and current version. So don't panic if you do not see some practice exams or some information that for you to download this week. But you will get that. So here are some things that you should do to prepare. Once again, download a copy of your week 4 study guide because that's going to be available for you. Make some flashcards of all the unfamiliar terms and any anatomy systems that you're unfamiliar with, and practice. Jot down notes in your CPT and ICD-9 about some coding strategies that you learned when you're practicing your mock exam after you've printed it out. And you come across something and you discover something new. Say, hey, you know what, this is a good note. If I come across this again, I've just learned something. Jot that down in that area so that the next time you come across a similar or even the same scenario, you will already be prepared and you won't have to waste a lot of time trying to figure out how to solve this scenario once again. So, notice that you will not be memorizing codes. So, never try to memorize any of your codes. What you try to memorize is how to find that code the quickest and most efficient manner possible, because you do not want to run out of time. Although you have 2.5 hours to take this test, it goes by really quickly. 75 questions. It depends on how fast you are. You'll be, on question number 35 and look up and only have like 40 minutes left. So make sure that, you pay attention to the time that you're taking on a scenario. If you take too long on one scenario, then mark it, put a little note next to it, go and complete something else that a little bit quicker, and then come back to those particular harder ones in the end. Okay, practice. Practice makes perfect. Be sure to practice as many coding scenarios as possible this week. Testing should be the last thing that you do, and I have in parentheses real testing, because what I would like for you guys to do once you print out your mock exam, you go back in, you input your answers. This is your practice test. You may not score well. You may even score 14 out of 45 points, 10 out of 45 points, 30 out of 45 points, which is not bad. But what I'm saying is, if you would like to score even better, then look at your very first attempt as a practice test. Okay, so once you've done that, you review your results, print that out, review the ones that you've gotten incorrectly, rework those scenarios, come back in, try it again. This time, this is the second practice. And now you kind of have a little bit more familiarity with what you're doing. So the third time should be a charm. So the third time you take that particular this mock exam, remember, the information will be in a different order, but 90% of the same information will be covered. So don't worry about that. Just don't wait too late in the week to do so, because what's going to happen is the test may end up closing on you on Sunday night, and you may not get an opportunity to retake that test, and you will be stuck with that low score. So make sure you take your time, and throughout the week, this should be the main thing that you focus on. Okay, so I have a scenario sitting here for process of elimination, and I've highlighted and went over a few things prior to beginning this lecture so that I can save a little time. And I want to let you guys know how to quickly solve some of these scenarios. Okay, so what I did without showing you guys is I found what the acronym FUO stands for, and I put it here in parentheses. Okay, you're going to find some of your scenarios just gives you an acronym for the diagnosis, but don't worry. You can Google and download a terms and acronym list to have at your fingertips, of which you may find posted in week 4 student materials. And also, you can Google your acronyms. If you are unfamiliar with a term and you are taking a test or doing something, just search it on your browser, and you're going to find that it's really simple and easy to find some of these words. Okay, so what I did was I found the diagnosis: fever of unknown origin. Now, I have either B or D as in dog with that particular diagnosis listed. I also have C, but since I have C, I see two diagnosis codes listed, and inside of the scenario, there is no other condition or problem listed. And we know the rule: if it is not documented, it did not happen. So in this case, I know that I am going to use either B as in boy or D as in dog. All right, so process of elimination, I know A and C can go away. Um, all right, so now I need to solve for the CPT, or the procedure. The procedure performed is lumbar puncture. There are a few various types of lumbar punctures. But what I did was I went to the CPT manual in the index and I went for the term puncture, because what's important is what is happening, and then from there, what body part is it happening to. When I got there, I was told to go and look for the word spinal tap. But instead of me wasting time and flipping some more pages to get to the word spinal tap, I looked a little bit further down under puncture and looked for the word spinal cord, because the lumbar sacral area is actually your spinal cord. And it's very important to know your medical terminology and to know your anatomy. There are some diagrams in the beginning of your CPT and your ICD 9 book. So if you're looking at these words and you're saying, where is this? What is this? What's happening here? Um, you always can flip over and look at those diagrams to familiarize yourself with them. Okay, so what the provider did was he drained the fluid and sent it in for a gram stain and a culture. Um, what he's trying to do is find out what's wrong with the patient. So we have a couple of different types. We have the diagnostic, we have the drainage of fluid, and then we also have, I forgot the other one, but there are three different types in there. What the provider is trying to find out is why this person has a fever of unknown origin. He sent this over to the lab for a fluid cell count, differential protein, glucose, gram stain, and culture. And then it's basically saying the patient tolerated the procedure well. So he could have just drained fluid, which is what he did, but that's not what he's trying to do. He's just trying to find out what may be causing her fever. So if he would have said the person has edema, or the patient has synovial fluid trapped in between her vertebral spaces and he's doing a spinal tap to help relieve that fluid, then we could use the code for the drainage of fluid. But in this particular scenario, we're going to say that the provider did a spinal puncture lumbar diagnostic. And for this scenario, my answer would be and remain D as in dog, because I have a diagnostic lumbar puncture and I also have the fever of unknown origin. I see that there are another CPT here that pretty much has nothing to do with what the provider did today. However, I do have the correct diagnosis code. So this is how you do process of elimination. When we see that 62268 is percutaneous aspiration, spinal cord cyst or syrinx, we don't see that the patient has a cyst. So therefore, we're fine with what we did. Okay, so the next process of elimination. Basically, it's telling us that this patient, after undergoing prior bariatric surgery, weight loss, and exercise program, she has lost 100 pounds. This is a familiar scenario from BC 3020, not the scenario itself, but we had a discussion when we talk about bariatric surgery and the paniculectomy. Basically, this patient she's having a grade 3 removal of her penis being done today, which is all that extra skin hanging down that has no fat. It's just extra skin. So what's happening to her is a paniculectomy and abdominoplasty. The other um, the other word for paniculectomy is lipectomy. So what makes you a really good coder from mediocre to perfectionist is to know those alternate words for the same thing. So if we cannot find panis or paniculectomy, we can go to liposurgery, because lipo is suctioning of the fat or fluid from any area from the body, and then we can go to the word lipectomy. If we go to lipectomy, we are going to be taken to the terms. Basically, we're going to be told that we can go to 15830. The 15830 is the code for every single answer here. So, how do we determine which particular code is the next correct code? What we do is we look up that code. So, process of elimination once again 15830. We know that that's going to be in our code because that's our only choice. All right, so I'm going and I'm going to review this while I'm speaking on my lecture. Okay, so I've gotten to 15830, or did I? Let me double check. Okay, it's basically saying excision, excessive skin, and subcutaneous tissue includes lipectomy, abdominal, infraumbilical, and paniculectomy. Now, all of these other codes underneath is for other areas of the body, not the abdomen area. So I turn the page and I'm looking for another code that describes what's happening today. So I look at 15847, which is the very first add on code that I get to, that's basically explaining a little bit more for me to go by. It's telling me excision, excessive skin, and subcutaneous tissue includes lipectomy, abdominoplasty, umbilical transposition, and face fascial plication. List separately in addition to the code for the primary procedure. I see my parenthetical note under the bottom. It's telling me that I can use that code in conjunction with 15830. So when I look back at my scenario and I match up these words that I just saw in this particular description of this code, I am seeing 95% of the information is listed under 15847. So I have eliminated all of the other codes because I am seeing that I'm definitely going to use 15830 and the add-on code 15847. Now, if you want to be very thorough, you can go back and review some of these other codes. However, you're going to waste little bit of your time. Um, so that was done, and that's quick. I have done about two scenarios in half the time that it would normally take me just by doing process of elimination. So here I have, and let me see if I can move my screen over a little bit. There I go. Surgery guideline memorization and review. Here's another tip um, about using modifiers. Some of the rules and guidelines associated with the integumentary system alone or the surgery section alone will help you with your CPC mock exam and the real exam or the real certification exam. So it's telling me, well, basically asking me, which CPT codes describe the destruction using cryosurgery? And where is my mouse? All right, cryosurgery, and where upper torso, 17 actinic keratosis, and destruction of 4 plantar warts during the same session. All right. So if I want to go to the word, I can go to the word destruction. It does not matter when you're dealing with the integumentary system. It does not matter how the destruction is done. They can do cryosurgery, they can do laser, they can do ligatures, they can destroy it any way that they feel, that the provider feels that, cauterization is still considered destruction. So, not paying much attention to cryosurgery, I'm just going to the word destruction. All right, so that's one of the general rules in integumentary coding is that destruction is just destruction. Okay, so when I get to the word destruction, and I have to be kind of quick because of my learning my alphabet, keeping track of what letter comes before the other one, like D before E. I go to the word destruction and I am looking for um, lesions, skin, and I need to find something that is more familiar to me or to the scenario or what's happening to the scenario than just the word destruction. So, for instance, this destruction. I go to the word lesion because anything that grows on the skin, here's another tip or trick or guideline. Any alteration on the skin, any growth on the skin is considered a lesion. Doesn't matter what type, it's all a lesion. Um, when you go to the word lesion, you're going to go all the way down to the word skin because the warts or the lesions of the actinic keratosis are on the skin. Now we get to the word skin. We have benign, malignant, and premalignant. One of the one of the definitions of actinic keratosis is that it is a premalignant lesion. If you're not 100% sure whether it's malignant or premalignant, one or the other, then you could Google the word actinic keratosis for a good description of the term so that you can, make sure that you're aware which which it is over the other. So I go to pre-malignant, and then it's referring me to 17,000 to 17,004. I flip back over because I'm still in my integumentary section from my previous, coding experience. I kept my hand there, and I go to the basically the guideline for the word destruction, and it's kind of giving me the same information that I told you, but because I've memorized these particular rules, I don't have to really read that. I already know that malignant and pre-malignant and things like that are considered lesions. If I read a little bit further down, it's got pre-malignant with a parentheses actinic keratosis. Okay, so now I go over to the word down to the words destruction, benign, or pre-malignant, and it's giving me the code 17000, and this is just for the first lesion. And then 17003 is telling me second through 14 lesions. List each separately in addition to the code for the first lesion. Now that's the long way around. I could code, if I go keep going further, I see 17004. It's telling me that destruction, laser, electrosurgery, cryosurgery, surgical curative, premalignant lesion, 15 or more. The provider removes 17. So I don't need to do the 1 and then the 17003 because this stops at 15. So using those two codes is still not accurate. So now I see that I have 17004 in both of these scenarios. Process of elimination, once again, memorizing my guidelines, knowing the rules, knowing what these words mean really helped me kind of save time here. I still have to do a little bit more research because I'm only at 15 lesions. I still need to code for two more. Um, well, I'm sorry, 15 or more. I still need to code for the four plantar warts. Okay, so now I'm dealing with plantar warts, and if I am not 100% sure how to code that, I can just go to back to the word destruction, and then I can go to the word warts, and it will give me a code range. I've done that already and I've saved time. It's telling me that my code range is 17110 through 17111. So I go up and I look at the 17110, and it's telling me that I can use this code for lesions other than skin tags or cutaneous vascular proliferative lesions up to 14 lesions. Proliferative is another word for warts. That's what the providers or doctors call them. If I wasn't sure, I kind of would want to look for what proliferative actually means, but I know that it does mean warts, so I'm okay with that. Plus, the index referred me to this code range for coding warts. So I have 17110 up to 14 lesions. This covers, where's my mouse? Okay. This covers the second portion of the procedure. Now, I can, I have modifier 51. I need to use modifier 51 because um, I am coding multiple procedures. Okay, so that's that. I have gone through these three or four, I think it was four, 3 or 4 scenarios as quickly as I possibly could. If I weren't talking all the way through, I probably would have saved a lot more time. But I just want to let you guys know what you need to do in order to save time on these particular exams. Okay, so there's going to be more information. Be sure to continually throughout the week go back and forth, pay attention to your student materials for week 4, as well as the discussion forum, because I always take information back and forth. If you have any questions, or if you get stumped, or something doesn't make sense while you're practicing, um, email me in the course room, or this is my um, outside email address, and I will respond to you as quickly as possible. Thank you for viewing. Good luck this week, and I hope to see wonderful scores.